Alright guys, in this video I have another horror movie, which is kind of a thriller more so than a horror movie, um, but it kind of falls into the horror genre. So I'm going to be talking about The Last House on the Left. Oh my gosh. The Last House on the Left. I watched this movie way back when in 2009, so I would have been about 14, 15 years old. And one thing I really remember about this movie is the RAPE scene, towards the beginning of the film. I think that traumatized me a little bit, seriously, because I remember that scene being so brutal and just like, I actually remember like how terrible that scene is. And basically that is the pivotal moment in which the movie really becomes like a serious, very dark and somber type of film. So absolutely terrible. Okay, so let's just talk about this. So this movie is rated R for obvious reasons. It deals with um, sexual assault. So it's it's very it's very graphic. It's a very um, personal subject for some people. Because some people experience this. And all I can say is this movie is absolutely brutal. And these people, see, back when I watched it, I couldn't even remember like how they got in that situation. All I remember was the RAPE scene. But upon rewatching it, it's like, okay, it's these gang of criminals, and they basically, they walk in with, the son is hanging out with these girls, and they're on the run, and then they basically kidnap them because they're afraid they'll say something to the police. So now I remember, well, after seeing it last night, it's like, okay, so that's how they got in that situation. But back then, I didn't remember that they were like a gang of thugs or anything. I just remembered the terrible things that they did to that girl, Mary. So, anyway, this movie is, like I said, very, um, it's a very graphic and mature subject matter. So, and of course, it deals with loss because Mary loses her friend Paige to these psychopaths. And the thing about this film is like you can just you just feel like an anger because you have the doctor and the wife and his wife that are just being good Samaritans. Basically, they're just trying to help these people out who they think got in a car crash. I mean, technically they did get in a car crash, but why did they get in a car crash or car accident? It's because they basically kidnapped these girls and assaulted them. Um, but these parents are just trying to like help out these people. It just makes you so angry when you're watching it because you realize what these people just did to the daughter and her friend. And obviously Mary isn't there, and these are her parents, and they're just helping these people out just because they don't know that these people are so terrible. So it just really infuriates you that these people could just do something so terrible and then come into somebody's home and get like a 5-star treatment, like a hotel. You know what I mean? So it's absolutely, oh my gosh, it's insane how these people can be so cold and like psychotic, man. Like they have no sense of, like, I don't know, they have no conscience, to be able to do that to somebody. But anyway, this film is absolutely, it's a little bit I mean, to me this is more evil than some supernatural horror films and some demonic horror films, because like there's no monsters in it. I mean, these people are monsters, yes, they're monsters, but there are no like traditional monsters. There's no evil spirits. There's nothing like that. It's not a haunted house. It's not a ghost story. It's just terrible people doing evil things. And you know, when they're when the family finds out what these people did, you know, once their daughter comes back, and you know they find her, and you know they cauterize the wound, and they find out what truly happened, you know, it is like retribution time. You know, I'm like, mom and dad, you guys, I want them so badly to enact revenge against these people because of what they did to their daughter. And I gotta say, every death was so satisfying in that movie because of how monstrous these people are. So this movie is not for the faint of heart. Like I said, watched it back in the day, and watching it today, it's still just as disturbing, and absolutely, absolutely just. I'm at a loss for words, man. But it is a good movie to watch. It's very good. It is thrilling. Like I said, it's not really so much horror, but it is. It's like a revenge thriller, to be honest. And like I said, the kills are very satisfying because these people are despicable. And yeah, it's. I mean, I think it's a really good movie. Um, Not for the faint of heart, like I said, but you know the kills are absolutely the most satisfying kills, um, because of how despicable these people are. And you know, I kind of like that this is just, you know, it's just like a mom and dad, and they're trying to defend themselves and their daughter. You know, it's not like these people are trained to fight, you know, whereas the criminals, these thugs, are like hardened criminals. So like they have guns and they know how to fight, and it's it's an unfair fight between them. Also in numbers, whereas they have what they have, it's like a gang of, I guess, four people versus basically just the doctor, the husband and wife. Although Justin does redeem himself, because at least he's like the only one who has a conscience. And he you know, because when he sees Mary's photo on the fridge, he's he gets sick to his stomach. You know, he can't stand uh, what he's just done and what they've done to these people. You know, because at that point he thought, you know, that Mary was dead. And you know, he has a conscience at least. And we see how his dad was always slapping him around and things like that, but absolutely brutal. So at least he had a conscience, and he did help the family out. You know, he gave the dad the gun, and you know he fought back against his father and the others, because he knew what, you know, he knew what they were doing was wrong. Like, unfortunately, he was just kind of born into that family of like psychos and criminals, and he didn't really necessarily agree with everything that happened. But I believe he redeemed himself, because you know he was never really evil, not like the other ones. Um, but yeah, they're just normal. You know, the father and mother are just normal people who, you know, just trying to do the right thing, but they end up getting these people in their house that did something terrible to their daughter. Absolutely despicable people. So this is a really good movie. Just it's astonishing that there are actually people like that out in the world. But as far as a movie standpoint, I thought it was really good. I think the story's great. Good characters, great performances, good acting. So I give The Last House on the Left an 8 out of 10.